Hey guys, thanks for coming back. My buddy Chris is with me today. He's got his Ruger 1022 and we're going to be doing some modifications to the stock to make a survival kit in the stock. He actually came over tonight, has some great ideas, so we're going to be kind of playing around with this and we're going to be adding these items to the stock. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and he's going to let you know what we're going to be doing.
Alright, so I bought this gun, believe it or not, of all places, Walmart. This is the classic Ruger 1022. This is like Coyote edition, which just means it's got this tan stock. But the reason I chose this gun to modify is because it's got a pretty cool feature back here. You can actually swap out this black portion of the stock to change different cheek risers and different like setups for that. But what we're going to do is we're going to fill this space and make this the ultimate 1022 survival rifle.
So as Chris said, this is the Ruger 1022. Here's some of the items that we are going to be placing into the stock. Chris got a multi-tool. So I'm going to hand this over to Chris. We're going to actually be putting that multi-tool in the stock. When you collapse it, it gets much smaller than what it is there. He's going to place a lighter, because you know all survival tools will need some sort of lighting tool. He's got some ear pro. And he's got some extra Remington rounds that we're going to place in the stock as well. So without further ado, Chris, let's get started. Why don't you clear your weapon?
Alright, before we get started on making our modifications, let's go ahead and make sure the gun is clear and safe. I'm going to lock the bolt back just to make sure it's on safe. Alright, so in order to get into the stock itself, you actually have to remove this rear swivel screw. The rear is different from the front. The front is a coarse thread screw. The back is just a machine screw. So I've already loosened this just by putting an Allen wrench in the hole and backing it off a little bit. So it's just finger tight. It does come all the way out. Okay, so after you take that machine screw out, you can go ahead and slide out this plastic buttstock. Inside that plastic buttstock is just a nylock screw that's just kind of resting inside this opening here. So the two line up once you insert it inside. That you can thread the swivel mount up into that nylock nut.
Now that Chris has the buttstock removed, we are going to be inserting a multi-tool into the actual buttstock itself. Now, when you do go out in search of a multi-tool, you'll really want to find really the skinniest multi-tool you can find, mostly because, as you can see, the area that's in the buttstock is very small. So the skinnier the one you have, the less modification to the stock you'll have to make. So we were searching for tools. We thought the best item to actually modify the stock is just a hand file. What we're going to do is we're actually going to be using the hand file to just take off about 1/8 of an inch on both sides of the stock, just enough so that when this goes into the stock, it fits snugly, but it will also go back onto the rest of the rifle without damaging the rifle and without making any other modifications. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Chris. He's going to we're going to do this by hand.
In order to get the right dimensions inside, this plastic is actually pretty thick, so it can give up quite a bit. I think Jason said it would take about 1/8 of an inch off either side, and that'll probably be enough because this multi-tool is not exactly symmetrical. It's a little bit thicker on one side. So we're just going to have to file away at the kind of the narrower part here. So just to get started, I'm just using it's pretty coarse, just hand file. And I'm just going as little as possible at first. Kind of see what progress I'm making. So I'm just going to start, I'm using actually the flat side. This file's got a flat side and a convex side. I'm just going to start with the flat side because I actually just want to take off this inside wall a little bit. And I don't really need to go all the way down to the bottom, so I'm just doing maybe 2-inch strokes from top to bottom. It's already doing a pretty good job.
It's actually coming out pretty easy, a lot easier than I thought it would. We thought about using a jigsaw and actually cutting out the actual sides. But we felt if we could just trim off, like I said, about 1/8 of an inch on both sides, we can keep the integrity of the stock together, but just make enough space so that the tool fits in there.
It's really close. I'm afraid that I'm bulging it, so I just want to take off some. I'm not even halfway through that thickness. You want to take over for a little bit? Way I keep putting it in, because this side's got a little bit more indentation to it. Ooh,
Is that good?
really close.
Give it a try. Just see where it's at.
On top. Ooh, it's close.
Almost.
Yeah.
What's it getting stuck on?
It's actually hitting.
Is it hitting this?
This thickness is hitting the inside of that, so we need to sink it down a little deeper, because it's not. It's in there pretty good. It's just not all the way down to the bottom.
Deeper.
Let's see if I can't mark out. Yeah, it's a little more coarse. I don't know if I can get this thing back up.
The only thing is this one goes deep because you got a...
Yeah, I know. It's like a chisel. Oh yeah, you can see where it stopped.
Okay.
See where the bolts rode down. But you know what, that's actually good, because you know that you don't have to go all the way over here. You can just do this top half. And don't be afraid. I just thought about this. We'll probably take the top of this rounded part. It's kind of hard to show and do at the same time.
As you can see, Chris has already taken off quite a bit of the stock on both sides. It's fitting in there pretty nicely, but we need to make it go down just a little bit further, because when it goes on the back of the stock of the rifle, it's got to go all the way inside the buttstock, which right now is getting caught up in there. So we're making it a little bit deeper so that we have a nice snug fit.
Alright, let's test fit.
Alright, let's see where we're at.
Did it again. Ooh.
Oh, that's much.
I think that's the
much further
That's
down.
the ticket right there. That's right, I gotta angle it a little bit. Good enough apparently. Oh, it's so close.
So close.
You know what?
All right, so as you can see, we are probably
stock a little though.
we are probably about an 1/8 of an inch away.
Yeah, really, really close. Yep. All right, while Jason's doing that, I notice each time I go to load the rear part of the buttstock into this opening that the multi-tool is getting hung up on the peak of this portion right here. I don't know if you can see it on camera. So I'm going to use the other file and I'm just going to knock it down just so that that ridge is flat. I only need to knock it down maybe about 2 inches because that's all that the depth of the multi-tool goes once it gets inside the stock. So while he's doing that, I'm actually going to put something on the ground with the gun. It's really hard to demonstrate.
That's in there.
Pretty good, and I think with this
Try that.
peak modified, let's see what we got.
So now we've filed both stock and the removal buttstock. So now we're going to attempt to see if we need to take any more off.
Is that peak still messing up? Yep. Whoa. little bit more off that peak because it still wants to hang out. The goal is not to make this a quick access thing. It's not tactical survival. So let's see what we got. I don't want to bulge the stock out any.
You're right there. You're so close.
It's bulging it though. You can see it's starting to discolor a little bit. Maybe I can take a little bit more off. It's right there.
Take it off the stock or take it off the,
I don't know.
the butt stock?
What do you think?
Pull it off this end. Exactly what we were trying to do right there. Let's see where it fits. How far?
It's just gonna slip. Oh,
Are you in?
I'm in there.
You're in?
It's in. I can see the threads through. It's just bulging that.
You know, as far as it could go.
It's really close. You know what I'm thinking, Jason? A grinder downstairs, a bench grinder. What if we were just, this is a plastic handle on here. We just remove some of that.
Just grind.
Yeah.
Grind.
So before we start grinding, I just wanted to show you where we are so far with this project. We've already done all the demonstration of what we're going to do. This multi-tool is almost a perfect fit. You can see it doesn't even fall out when I pick it up, and there's nothing more than just the pressure of that plastic holding it in. So if you can imagine when this sits, it's almost perfect. What we're going to do is, I just kind of eyeballed where this front part of this multi-tool is touching the inside of this stock here. It's actually made some scratches on the inside. Nobody will ever see it. But we're just going to knock off this corner, put a little bit more of a round profile to it, just following the edge of the tool. See how close we can get it.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we are just going to grind off the top of both sides of the multi-tool, just enough to make it just a little bit more snug when it goes into the butt stock of the rifle. So as you can see, we're going to take off just a little bit on this side and a little bit on that side. Okay, so we just got done on the grinder. What we did is, I'll come closer to the camera so you can see here, is we grinded the top. We're going to actually hand file this a little bit more just to make it look nicer. But we also ended up filing the bottom down so that it's completely flat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see if this fits in here nicely. It should, because now that we've taken quite a bit off the bottom, it's going to go down in there a little bit further. Here, Chris, I'll let you do the honors. And now when we put it in here, if all goes well, we should be able to put it directly on and it should snap right into place. So, there you go.
That's it.
There it is. And it's in. All right. Not bad, Chris. Not bad.
It's a little project.
Okay, so now what we're going to do, so we've got the multi-tool in there. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a couple other items in the buttstock. So we got the multi-tool in here. So our next idea is putting in a lighter.
That's like a factory fit right
Oh,
there.
that's almost perfect.
Yeah. I like that. You know what? I'm going to put it in the other way though, because I don't want there to be a chance that the gas button could be depressed by a bullet. So I'm going to flip it like that.
Not a bad idea.
That way I know no gas is leaking out, especially since you're going to be mixing it with a bunch of bullets in there.
That's perfect.
Pretty good.
And we're also going to take
Stuff that ear pro in there.
We're also going to take some ear pro. We're not really concerned so much with the ear pro case as so much just the ear pro in itself. So we got some space in front of the tool that we can slide those right down inside there.
You know what, I'm going to put it string first so I have something I can pull out.
And it goes right in there. Like that. Not bad.
Pretty good.
So we've now got a multi-tool, we've got a lighter, and we've got ear pro in there. Last but not least, what we need to do is we need to design the top portion of the buttstock because we want to put as many rounds in there that we possibly can. What we're going to do. So at this point, let's see how many shells we can fit in here first without modifying anything, just to know what our max capacity is. And then after we find out how many we can actually fit, then we will actually modify the top of this so that they fit in there nicely without rattling around.
And 35. It's 25 rounds.
Okay, so we put 25 rounds in there. So now our goal is to seat them in there so that they don't rattle around, and also so that I can go back in the stock without any issues.
Here, this is a good smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, slide the phone. Shoot.
Yeah.
Slide
I think.
on the butt.
I think.
We'll take this one and slide. Yeah.
Alright, so what we're going to do now is we have filed down both sides of the multi-tool. So we are now going to take a hand file and we are going to just smooth it up just so we have a nice smooth edge on it. Actually, that's pretty good right there. Do this side. Actually, that is pretty good, and it actually feels pretty smooth on both sides. What do you think, Chris? What do you think about that?
I think before we go any further, just for looks, take a Sharpie and just touch up those silver edges. Let's stick it on something. Is there any tape left over?
There we go.
The size of the stock.
There we go.
Is that in there?
It's in there. Now have 20 rounds of extra ammunition. We now have a multi-tool, a lighter, and ear pro all in the stock of the 22 rifle. So last but not least, we're going to take the screw that we took out at the very beginning. We're simply going to replace that where it was. Now with these modifications, you will feel that the rifle is heavier than it was before, but that's because the stock was once hollow, but it's no longer hollow. I would say it's probably about a pound, maybe a pound and a half heavier than what it once was. And if you shake it, you can kind of hear the rounds a little bit inside there. But again, as Chris explained earlier, this is more for survival, not for tactical. The last step, last but not least, is we're going to put the sling on the rifle. If you can see, Chris is putting the front end on first. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's just two little screws, one in the front, one in the rear. Again, just two finger screws, and it is on.
And it's all done.
All done? Okay.
Okay, so the outside appearance of this rifle, all finished, is basically stock. You don't really know that we've done any modifications other than you can see. This scope doesn't come with it, and obviously the sling doesn't come with it. You have to add that yourself. But on top of that, there's also, like Jason said, 20 extra rounds, multi-tool, 17 function multi-tool, a lighter, and some ear probe in there.
Alright, so we've now finished our Ruger 1022. That's the end of our video. Thanks for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. We have more videos coming in the future. Alright, thanks Chris.
No problem.